You stand at a crossroads between weakness and power. One path offers the comfort of, "I'm sorry." The other, a figure who never apologizes and never explains. A hard truth rises. Power rarely kneels to remorse.
Never apologize, never explain. To most, it sounds harsh, even heartless. But for Winston Churchill and others who held power without compromise, it was law. They understood a darker truth. The instant you lower your head in apology, you offer the world a piece of your control. And once you surrender that, they never stop taking. Imagine carrying the weight of a nation on your shoulders as bombs fall from the sky. Churchill did. In that crucible of war, he believed projecting unwavering strength mattered more than soothing feelings. Apologies and excuses had no place in a life-and-death struggle. Only resolve, only victory. You have been taught that apologizing is righteous and explaining yourself is polite. But look around at the ones who hold power. They rarely say sorry, even when wrong. Instead, they double down. They know an uncomfortable secret. Society often lets the unapologetic pass, even as it scorns the meek who confess. It's not that the powerful are never wrong. It's that they refuse to wear guilt on their sleeve. They shake off mistakes like rain. To apologize is to admit fallibility. And for a figure trying to appear invincible, fallibility is a crack in the armor. Better to show no cracks at all. The world can punish those who apologize too readily. Research shows that when a public figure apologizes for a controversial statement, people sometimes grow harsher, not kinder. An apology can be seen as weakness, inviting predators to pounce. The powerful have learned this through countless public trials by fire. In politics, there's a saying, if you're explaining, you're losing. To explain is to be on the defensive, to justify yourself under someone else's gaze. So the powerful avoid it. They issue orders and statements, but rarely justifications. By never explaining, they project an aura of inevitability, as if to say, my actions speak for themselves. You feel the sting of disapproval when you imagine defying this norm. You've been conditioned to seek approval, to smooth things over. The thought of not apologizing when you've erred makes your heart pound. It feels like stepping off a cliff without knowing if society will catch you or cast you out. But those who wield dominance seem unbound by that fear of disapproval. They cultivate a self that feeds on its own certainty. When accused, they do not flinch. They let others howl at the gates while they remain unmoved inside the fortress of their resolve. It's a kind of psychological armor most people envy and dread. Refusing to apologize is not just an absence of guilt, it's an active power play. It asserts, I answer to no one. Each time you withhold an apology that others expect, you are silently asserting dominance. You're saying that your judgment is beyond their correction, your status beyond their reproach. This tactic has a startling effect on the mind. Psychologists like Tyler Okamoto found that when you refuse to apologize, you actually feel a surge of power. In their studies, people who didn't say sorry felt more in control and even had boosted feelings of integrity. By standing firm, they preserved their pride, and then some. You might think refusing to apologize would fill you with guilt, but research suggests the opposite. People who held back an apology felt stronger, more secure in themselves. By not kneeling in contrition, they reinforced an identity that doesn't back down. In their minds, they say, I did what I had to do. I have no regrets. There is a fierce psychological relief in saying nothing and offering no excuse. When you apologize, you hand over a bit of control. waiting for the other's acceptance or rejection. But when you stand unyielding, you keep that control in your own hands. You need no one's forgiveness. You remain the judge of your own actions. Think of the last time you apologized and explained yourself. Remember the vulnerability, the knot in your stomach as you awaited a response. Now imagine the inverse, committing an offense and meeting the fallout with silence and a lifted chin. No apology, no explanation, just the deafening roar of your silence, asserting that you owe nothing. It takes a certain hardness to pull this off. The powerful cultivate it out of necessity or desire. Churchill in the war room, cutting off any talk of doubt. A CEO dismissing calls to apologize for a ruthless layoff. They steel themselves internally, turning the fear of being disliked into fuel for unshakable conviction. Never apologize, never explain. They repeat like a mantra. They know apologies can snowball. One sorry leads to another, each chipping away at authority. Better to stop at zero. If you never say sorry, you never begin that descent. You stay on the high ground, in your own eyes and often in others. We see this in public scandals time and again. A figure stands accused. The public bays for an apology. Sometimes a bold one refuses. They deny, they counterattack, or they simply go silent. And strangely, a portion of the crowd admires them for it. There's a twisted respect for the one who won't bow. You can feel that twisted admiration inside yourself. Part of you hates their arrogance, yet part of you wishes you could be that unbothered and impervious. The allure of invincibility whispers that if you never apologize, never show regret, you too might feel untouchable. Moving through life like a force of nature, answerable to no one. History is littered with leaders who wielded this tactic. Some became revered, others reviled. Churchill's stubborn resolve helped save a nation in its darkest hour. He did not apologize for rallying his people to fight, for hard decisions that cost lives, yet won greater battles. His refusal to second-guess in public became part of Britain's backbone. Then there are those whose refusal to apologize veered into tyranny. Dictators and demagogues who never admitted a mistake, never showed remorse as they trampled rights and lives. Their absolute power thrived on never explaining themselves, never justifying the unjustifiable. In their mind, they could do no wrong, and no one was allowed to say otherwise. The difference often comes down to conscience. Power without conscience is a beast loose in the world. When a leader cares nothing for the costs of their actions, never apologize, never explain, becomes a shield for atrocities. Without empathy or guilt, it turns a person into a kind of invincible monster, accountable only to their own will. But power with conscience, that's more complex. A leader like Churchill could refuse to apologize during the war, believing it necessary for victory, yet still carry the weight of his decisions privately. After the storm had passed, conscience still whispered. Perhaps he would not apologize outwardly, but he understood the grave price that was paid. One part of the mind feels the pang of guilt, the tug of empathy. Another part, the ego, feels the thrill of defiance and control. In the powerful, the ego often wins. They present a face of stone, even if behind closed doors their hands tremble at what they've done. And what of you? You live in a world that praises humility in principle, but rewards dominance in practice. You've seen colleagues, friends, or rivals who never say sorry seem to leap ahead. They make you question the value of your own decency. You wonder if your apologetic nature has been a shackle all along. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Maybe being nice has held you back. The unapologetic rise not despite their lack of remorse, but because of it. The realization tastes like both poison and possibility. Poison because it defies the moral order you cling to. Possibility because it hints at a power you've never dared grasp. You start to ask uncomfortable questions. Have you been apologizing to truly right your wrongs, or to ease the fear of being disliked? When you explain yourself, is it because it's right, or because you can't bear others thinking ill of you? The answers aren't as noble as you'd hope. They reveal a heart ruled by fear, fear of disapproval. It has been a silent master over so many of your actions. It made you polite when you should have been firm. It made you say sorry just to fill the silence of someone's anger. It's the child in you, still craving the nod of approval from the authority figures around you. The powerful have slain that child within themselves, or at least locked it away so it can't seize the wheel. They decide that being respected is more vital than being liked. Often, refusing to apologize forces others to respect, or at least accept, their will. It's a brutal trade-off. Gaining a measure of awe, but forfeiting warmth and forgiveness. There is shame lurking in the shadow of explanation. To explain yourself can feel like begging to be understood. Each word of justification stings like salt on the wound of your pride. You feel small, like a defendant pleading his case in the court of public opinion. The powerful never put themselves in that chair. Shame and fear. These chains keep you apologizing and explaining. Breaking them requires hardening yourself. It means being willing to be seen as the bad guy in order to stay in command of your own narrative. Not everyone can stomach that, nor should. But those who do hold a certain key to power. Modern psychology even suggests that refusing to apologize can boost your self-respect. In one study, people who flat out declined to say sorry felt greater self-worth than those who apologized. It's counterintuitive. We expect guilt, remorse, the weight of conscience. Instead, those who didn't apologize felt pride, felt vindicated internally as if proving their consistency to themselves. This finding reveals something fundamental. Our minds often reward consistency and strength more than virtue. Standing by your actions, even wrong ones, satisfies the ego's hunger to see itself as consistent. You tell yourself you stayed true and didn't bow to others' demands. The psyche rewards that stance with a surge of internal power. Meanwhile, to apologize is to shatter your self-image. The moment you say, "I was wrong, please forgive me," you split yourself. The person you thought you were versus the person who erred. For the proud, that split is agony. They'd rather rewrite the narrative than feel that fracture. So they never apologize. They never face that divide. And what of explaining? To explain is to seek understanding from others. But the powerful decide they will be understood only on their terms, or not at all. Explaining means needing something from the listener: sympathy, approval, validation. Those who lust for absolute power train themselves to need nothing from anyone, or at least to appear that way. Watch a truly unapologetic person in the middle of a storm of criticism. They might smirk with indifference or calmly repeat their stance without a hint of defensiveness. Their heart rate barely rises as they stand alone against the crowd's fury. That unflappable posture is itself a form of dominance. It tells everyone, "Your outrage cannot move me." There is a perverse charisma in that level of self-assuredness. Followers rally behind it, drawn to a leader who seems above the ordinary rules of social appeasement. Think of the crowds who cheered leaders that never admitted fault, who promised certainty in uncertain times. Many found comfort in that certainty, trading their own doubt for the leader's unwavering vision. But beneath that charisma coils a dark side. If a leader's vision is flawed or cruel, refusing to apologize becomes a refusal to course correct. It's the ship captain who will not change course because he will not admit he's wrong about the iceberg. The result is disaster, and still no apology, even as the ship sinks. Confront a stark reality. The world often rewards the appearance of confidence more than the substance of compassion. The unapologetic exploit this. They know that many people equate apologizing with weakness and certainty with strength. So they craft an image of absolute certainty. It wins them followers, elections, boardrooms, until the illusion cracks, if it ever does. Where does this leave you? Perhaps disturbed, perhaps tempted. You see the game now. You see why never apologize, never explain has seduced so many seeking power. It promises freedom from the humiliation that you felt all too often. It dangles the prospect of being the one who defines the terms of your life, unbent by others' judgment. It also reveals a moral crossroads. Embrace this rule fully and you might gain power, but risk losing your humanity. Empathy and responsibility wither if you never heed the inner voice that says, "You hurt someone. Make it right." Absolute power can corrupt absolutely because it casts aside the gentle bonds of care. Understanding this rule doesn't mean you must become a cold tyrant. It means you choose your moments of apology and explanation with wisdom rather than reflex. You realize that saying sorry out of fear is no virtue, just as withholding it out of pride is no virtue either. The virtue lies in choosing your path with clear eyes. Next time an automatic apology rises to your lips, pause. Ask yourself, am I apologizing because I truly regret my wrong or to appease? If the remorse is genuine, then apologizing can be a courageous act of conscience. But if it is mere appeasement born of fear, perhaps silence would serve you better. Review. Likewise with explanations. Before you pour out excuses or justifications, consider who truly needs it. Your friends don't need an elaborate defense. They trust your intentions. Your enemies won't believe your reasoning, no matter how earnestly you explain. State your actions and let them think what they will. Silence often speaks more powerfully than any justification. There is quiet strength in owning your actions without apology or excuse. When it is a conscious choice, it means you accept the consequences fully. You do not run from them, but you also do not grovel. This isn't a lack of remorse. You might feel it deeply, but you show it through deeds, not words. In a sense, never apologize, never explain is a harsh game of perception and psychology. Those who play it without conscience can cause great harm and still sleep soundly. Those who play it with awareness use it sparingly as a tool, not a way of life. You now see the puppet strings of power clearly. The unapologetic stand tall, convinced they are beyond reproach. It's a potent illusion that grants them influence, but an illusion nonetheless. Everyone is fallible, whether they admit it or not. The difference is who faces their flaws and who hides them behind a mask of infallibility. You feel a chill as you see how raw and callous power can be, and a spark as you realize you are not helpless against it. Now you choose which pieces of this armor to wear and when to set them aside. It no longer controls you. It's a conscious strategy in your hands. The truth is uncomfortable. The world does reward the unapologetic. But now you are awake to this reality. It doesn't mean the world is right. It means you must navigate it with a keen mind and a strong spirit. Acknowledge what works in raw power plays but refuse to lose your moral compass in the process. In the end, never apologize, never explain is a double-edged sword. Wielded without care, it cuts down trust, empathy, and humanity. Wielded with intention, it can carve out personal sovereignty. The lesson isn't to obey or banish this rule outright, but to never sleepwalk through the game of power. Choose deliberately. You leave this reflection disturbed yet empowered. Disturbed because you peered into the cold machinery of dominance and saw how easily integrity is cast aside for control. Empowered because now you hold knowledge that dispels your naivete. Power without conscience is dangerous. Seeing through the game lets you reclaim your agency in a world that rewards the unapologetic.